on this episode of Ask the Expert, I have here with me today Bobby from Ageless Chimneys and Ageless Masonry. I refer him to a lot of my clients to check old retaining walls that need to be repaired, or if there's something wrong with your pavers, and also too on your chimneys if you need a level 2 inspection or you need something rebuilt. So that's why we're here today. We're on one of his job sites. If you can see, it's massive, and they're doing a lot of work here. So, Bob, when you put down the pavers nowadays, which I think is, it's gone past like concrete for patios, it's gone past pretty much even decking.
Yeah.
I think it's like the new thing now. But when you do decking, do you need a permit?
When you do paver decking, some townships call for a permit.
Okay.
You have to, town of North Hempstead especially, has lot coverage. So depending on how much paver and impermeable surface you have, you may need to get a permit, get an engineer, calculate rainfall, put that into a dry well. Long Island's very concerned with catching their own rainwater recently.
Yep.
So,
and then retaining walls. What is the rule of thumb for a retaining wall? Like, what size retaining wall could you do without a permit?
very good question. So they really want permits for everything. Sometimes you can get away without doing one. So the rule of thumb is 4 by 4 by 4. So you really don't want to build them 4 feet high or taller than 4 feet high. If you do, you got to go back 4 feet, 5 feet, flat, and then up again with your next sectional wall.
So it's like a tier system.
It will basically be like steps for a giant.
Gotcha.
Yeah, tiered section.
Gotcha. And what do you find that, is it possible that, because most of the time when we do a home inspection, we'll have an old timber wall, and the client's always saying to me, well, who's responsible for that wall? Now, I thought a big rule of thumb on it was that the person that was higher actually was responsible for that retaining wall. Is that what the old
So most of the time, that's what we run into.
Mm-hmm.
Most retaining walls that are on properties, like right here, you could see an old timber wall right behind this fence.
Gotcha.
A lot of times we run into situations where that's, on a property line.
Okay.
And that is who's ever dirt it's holding back's responsibility.
That's what I
Yes.
figured. Okay. So we went over drainage, we went over retaining walls. What about underneath here? What goes on underneath the pavers to be done properly?
So it's a really good question. For years, it was really only acceptable to use like an RCA base. That was the concrete, authorities, the paver authorities, they wanted RCA. It really has to do with drainage. We've been, concrete paving guys have seen a lot of settling, especially with pool projects. So everything kind of switched to concrete base. So if you're doing a fresh pool, or you have a vehicular application where you're doing a driveway, or you did some excavation work where there's dry wells or trenching all under the ground, the base is disturbed. You're putting in an expensive job. You want it done the right way. So a lot of times we're recommending 4-inch concrete base.
Okay.
You can use RCA. As long as the job is excavated the right way, you get rid of all the dark black organic material. Now we would recommend an RCA base if you're on a budget, and if it's freshly unexcavated soil, like if you're just putting in a patio in your backyard or a walkway and no one's going to be driving over it and it hasn't been disturbed in years, RCA base is completely fine, 4 to 8 inches. But if you want to go above and beyond, and Tim the Toolman Taylor, 4-inch concrete base isn't going anywhere, and if
it's going to stay forever.
If you can afford it, we recommend.
Because a lot of times when I'm doing a home inspection, I'll see that, the patio is settled and there's water sitting there. You can see the drainage problems. The old houses from the 80s, when they did pavers on driveways, you see the 2 ruts from the tires.
Sure.
And that all becomes money for the person buying the house. So that's what I'm always concerned with. Anything else that you could give us that could give some people information about doing the proper work and stuff like that?
A big problem we see is we have this beautiful patio we installed, and everyone hates weeds. So you got all these paver joints here. Recently, within the last 5 to 10 years, they've come out with a polymeric sand.
Exactly.
Now you're supposed to use that. Some contractors won't even do it, or will just use beach sand, more or less, just brushed in sand. It creates a lot of problems for the homeowner. You get a lot of burrowing insects. You get weed and algae.
Ants popping up, ant
holes.
And
it can undermine the pavers, especially the coping. They eat underneath all the coping, and the coping starts falling off into the pool. So yeah, we definitely recommend the polymeric sand.
Also too though, but how do you install it? That
Right.
I know is a problem because there's a lot of guys, they'll do polymeric sand, they'll just slide it in, then they give it the water,
Yeah.
and there's still dust on top, it destroys the pavers,
Yeah.
and then also too, it's not tamped in, so it doesn't get all the way down, so that's a problem, right?
Yes, so if you're a homeowner, try to stay away from installing polymeric sand yourself. Even if you leave a little bit on, it creates a terrible film that you can't get off. So most contractors don't want to go out and spend $3,000 to $4,000 on a vibrating tamper.
Exactly.
We did. It's made all the difference. You sweep in all your brushing, all your sand, and you hit it with a vibrator, and you would really be surprised how much more sand has to go into the joints.
Gotcha.
So it gets fully compacted, and then you wet it down, and once it's wet and hardened down, it's compacted the right way, you're gonna get a 15 to 20 year warranty on that sand, like from the manufacturer himself.
That's great. That's really great.
Yeah.
I see a gas pipe here, so barbecue, fire pit.
Yeah. So we have over there, we have some propane tanks. We didn't put them underground because everything is an added expense, and we really didn't know the levels of this property when we were grading it out. So we got the propane tanks over there, gas line over here. We have another gas line over there for a future fire feature. That's going to be a fire bowl on top of this pool with some waterfalls
With the
coming
waterfalls.
out.
Beautiful.
And then one other spot we ran gas to was the pool heater. So we're on Long Island. You know, you get 3 months out of the year with nice weather. If you want to stretch that extra month or two, a lot of people put in a pool heater. It keeps the water nice and warm. Electric works really nice. Gas is a little bit more efficient. So
Right.
we chose to go with the gas one on this project.
Very nice. So this is our clip with Bobby from Ageless Chimneys. If you need anything, just look at my Instagram. You'll be able to pick up the phone numbers and everything from it. I'll put a feed in there. Like I said, I recommend him because stand-up company does the right thing. Remember, when you don't know what to look for, we're who to look for.